Hello everyone, this is James Martin, also known as Solid Snack on the forum and in Gelp. Are you a fan of playing balanced space and ground with the ability to battle into either theater? How about being able to get key cards back from a lost pile after you lose them to a drain or in battle? Do you like including a couple of bullet cards to help you for specific matchups? Are you okay with not playing the most iconic villain in Star Wars, Darth Vader? These are all great reasons to play Carbon Chamber Testing, or CCT for short. Carbon Chamber Testing, also known as My Favorite Decoration, relies on you moving to Jabba's Prize to Jabba's Pound's Audience Chamber and transferring Jabba's Prize to IG-88V, and then hold the Audience Chamber. From there you can obtain the benefits of Scum and Villainy, which can be pulled from My Favorite Decoration, and also obtain the benefits from Despair V to deploy to space or contest ground. While the damage output in the control phase typically isn't high, the additional retrieval, one card per turn during the control phase, and the ability to search for cards with IG-88V to counter your opponent and contest their battlegrounds in either theater gives the deck a winning combination. Immunity to attrition less than 4 for aliens and independent starships has come in handy enough times to be a perk as well. Now let's talk about the starting cards. Carbon Chamber Testing asks you to deploy 4 cards to the table at the start of the game. You get the 2/1 sight, the Cloud City Carbonite Chamber, along with the Carbonite Chamber Console V deployed there. The Carbonite Chamber Console gives you an additional force during your opponent's turn, and can pull He's All Yours Bounty Hunter V, which is a helpful card. In addition, you start the Cloud City Security Tower, a 2/0 sight, and you deploy your Jabba's Prize, which counts as one of your 60 cards in your deck there. Note that your prize might be replaced by Jabba's Prize V, a light side card, which gives your opponent the ability to play Han at the expense of foreign horn in the game, even when the prize is on table. At the start of the game, it's always a good idea to check which Jabba's Prize is on table and what battle bonuses you can take advantage of. You'll then start any methods necessary non-V as your starting interrupt, one of the few decks using this card. You can then pull Despair from the Security Tower Virtual's text. And Despair V is a key helper card that grants +3 power in all battles as long as Scum and Villainy is at the same side as Jabba's Prize. In addition, should Jabba's Prize leave the table, your objective does not go out of play, giving the objective some additional resiliency. You will also pull with any methods necessary Boba Fett V, Boba Fett's Blaster Rifle V, Tatooine Jabba's Palace Prison, and optionally if you want it, Slave 1 Symbol of Fear. More on these cards later. Turn 1 and 2 typically look similar for most CCT builds. Some decks activate only one force to search for He's All Yours Bounty Hunter as one of their first actions. This will allow Boba Fett to move for free, including his relocation later in the move phase. Next, activate all your force and deploy Boba Fett to the Security Tower with his blaster. Deploy Jabba's Palace Audience Chamber using your objective's text, and deploy the prison from hand. During your move phase, have Boba Fett escort Jabba's Prize and move him to the Audience Chamber using Boba Fett's Blaster Rifle V text, which is 2 force or free if you used He's All Yours Bounty Hunter Virtual on Boba Fett that turn. Boba then moves to the Audience Chamber, flipping your objective. Boba Fett can sometimes be vulnerable during turn 1 from your opponent's attacks. I'll talk about some tricks later. Let's assume he makes it to turn 2, which is not an unreasonable assumption. Turn 2, your Scum and Villainy, deploy Scum and Villainy from your reserve deck using your objective. Make note of what's in the reserve deck. You're looking to make sure both Darrow Virtual and IG-88 Virtual is in there. Then use Jabba's Palace Audience Chamber to deploy to the surprise of no one who plays SWCCG currently, but maybe to the surprise of new and returning players, you deploy a Jawa. Darrow V allows you to search your reserve deck for any droid, so deploy IG-88V once he comes down, and during your move phase, transfer Jabba's Prize to IG-88V. If you somehow luck into IG-88V or Darrow into your hand, then Proxima is often the next best alien to find, as she allows you the ability to pick the top 3 cards of your reserve deck every control phase and choose an alien if one is there to put in your hand while adding a Battle Destiny with 2 aliens at her site. There, your basic setup is done. And from there, you'll use IG-88V's text every turn, both during yours and during your opponent's, to search your force pile to look for any one card and take that into hand. From there, if you are looking to reinforce the Audience Chamber if you're wary of an attack there, or find your system and deploy a fleet and hold it. or counterattack your opponent with your cast of characters. For additional activation, at any turn you get it, deploy Jabba's Sail Barge Passenger deck, or use Twilight Advisor V to deploy it from Reserve deck. In a similar vein, deploy Nal Hutta if you find it, or use Jabba's Haven to deploy it from Reserve deck. Some players like to play Wipe Them Out, all of them, for additional activation during your opponent's turn, and for a better card finding experience for IG-88Bs on opponent's turn as well. You are also looking for You'll Be Dead for an extra 1 force loss per turn. With retrieving from the objective and Scum and Villainy, battling your opponent's off-key battlegrounds, and finding key bullet cards, you can pull out wins against nearly any deck. Deck building revolves around a similar 40 cards or so, including beefy alien characters such as Prince Zizor, Jango Fett, your Jabba of choice, Mara Jade with lightsaber, Lady Proxima, independent starships such as Guri with Stinger, Zuckuss the Mist Hunter, Ellis and Hinthra. But IG-88V allows for some specific customization of the last 20 cards or so to deal with the top deck lists of the day, since you can search your force pile for them. Now let's talk some strategy. Boba Fett is sometimes vulnerable turn 1 as he sits alone at the audience chamber. Your opponent can sometimes muster a Jedi and a lightsaber, so you'll need to be prepared with a trick or two in your deck to deal with this. Imperial Barrier is seemingly always useful in any deck and can be considered, but Boba Fett allows you to pull any interrupt from your reserve deck at the start of battle, so it's not always reliable as it's past the time when Barrier is to be played. Stunning Leader often gets the job done, but there are a lot of cancelers for that card, so be wary of using it. Projective Telepathy usually works well and can be a helpful card, especially late game, to prevent battles or drains. Less reliable, but also to consider, are Any Methods Necessary V, Greedo V, or Hidden Weapons if you actually want to try your luck in battle, or if other tricks fall through. Don't forget, if you're unlucky and you miss a pull, you can use Carbonite Chamber Console to get He's All Yours Bounty Hunter V for Destiny if unable to otherwise. However, typically delaying a battle a turn so you can find backup for Boba Fett works well enough. Against heavy mains that will sometimes stack the audience chamber, consider running Disarm with Dr. Evazan both from Premiere to get rid of pesky characters by operating on your opponent's turn. Cards like Ceasefire or Ifont Mine can be helpful to keep your characters around and not have to forfeit a ton. Weapons and high battle destinies with otherwise low forfeit aliens can often be overwhelming, so ensure you have some tricks. You'll want to find Cad Bane to cancel the immunity of a Jedi, Forlon with Concussion Rifle to cancel the text and often add a Destiny with Jabba, or Aurra Sing with Blaster Rifle to get those high defense value, high immunity characters off the table. How much space you should run is a key question in this deck. With Gurin Ship, maybe Slave 1, Zuckuss and Mist Hunter, Ellis and Hinthra, Wolf V, Ponda Baba V, there's a fearsome package to be built. The issue is typically CCT is only threatening a drain of 1 in space, so overcommitting the space in terms of deploy or even deck slots can be a killer versus an all-ground deck, for example. How much you run will often depend on what the meta is looking like and how you personally like to play. That said, if there's a lot of light side space being run, decks such as Diplomatic Mission to Alderaan, No Idea, Yavin 4 base operations, consider running Dengar and Punishing 1 or dropping Slave 1, including the Mess and Martinet, to kick your opponents out of space. And oh, by the way, you get immunity less than 4 on Dengar and Zuckuss' ships from the objective. On the other end of the spectrum, independent starship pilots do not suspend Scum and Villainy, so Tatooine Maul and the Sith Infiltrator can be a concise space package if you want to load up on ground. Lastly, what makes this deck enjoyable, since IG-88B allows you to find any card in your force pile, you can put some interesting tech against decks that you see often. See BB-8 or 3PO a lot, run Restraining Bolt or Luxor droids. Lots of Jedi coming to attack you, how about Disarm the Dr. E from Premiere and Ceasefire? Running into a lot of space decks, add in Jabba's Palace Lower Passages and Galad for some extra ground drains and an extra battleground for resistance. Need You'll Be Dead quicker? Play Surface Defense V. Don't like the low destiny from aliens? Scrap You'll Be Dead and throw in some Imperial Artilleries. Need more late game damage? Throw in limited resources. Your opponent is playing a lot of evasion, put in Blast controls or they're still coming through. Not only does IG-88V allow you to find the cards you need for a specific matchup, or play one copy of that pet card you've always grown fond of, but CCT's retrieval typically allows you to get the cards back to find once more and play once again. Overall, the deck is pretty balanced in both land and ground, and typically has enough resiliency to get you to late game with a chance to win. The deck sometimes can be frustrating when you activate your key cards early, and they are not in reserve deck when you're attempting to search for them. For example, the Audience Chamber turn 1 from CCT, or Duro V from the Audience Chamber, or IG88V from Duro V turn 2. So ensure you have a backup plan for that eventuality, because it will happen once or twice. Also, if you're playing live, ensure you have nice sleeves, because you'll be shuffling your deck often. Knowing your deck list and practice with this deck is a must, as it affords you the ability to search your reserve deck or force pile nearly each turn, and therefore know what cards would reside in the other pile, so that allows you to find that key card you need at the right time. With some practice, you'll be able to be competitive in most games with this fairly interactive deck.